Welcome back to the Act Two podcast, a podcast for the real-life working screenwriter. I'm Tasha Hugh.
I am Josh Hallman.
And it's gonna be a rough one, guys. We kind of like missed our usual date to record because I got sick and I didn't have a voice.
That's right.
And we're back and we're trying to keep it together.
We're trying to, but will we? I don't know. You're gonna have to listen and find out. Yeah.
Wonder what our midpoint turning point of this podcast is gonna be. It's not looking good.
Oh man, we have a lot to talk about, Tasha.
Yeah. Should we? I mean, let's.
Are we just diving in? Are we doing this?
I think so. I'm feeling this energy we just got to do it.
I know. We came on.
End.
We were hot. You were telling me something. And I was like, let's
You had a backwards hat.
I did have a backwards hat. And I saw what I looked like, and I took the hat off.
It's all right. I'm wearing a hoodie with unicorns on it. Yeah. Bring the backwards hat back.
The hat's back on. It's backwards.
That kind of day.
All right. Who wants to begin? Me? Fine.
This week in writing.
This week in writing.
All right, Tasha.
Yeah, hit me.
Okay.
I feel like you've had a rough week.
All right, this what I'm about to talk about may or may not have had me involved with it.
Okay.
I don't want to say if this has happened to me. I don't want to say if it didn't happen to me. I'm just talking about this.
Just general.
Just generally speaking.
Generalization.
So sometimes what happens, and I'm just bringing this up as a warning to all writers in the world. Sometimes what happens when you're scheduling something and you're on an email thread, and now you're scheduling a Zoom or a meeting in person with like 10 people, 6 people, let's just say. So there's a lot of moving parts here.
Yeah, my heart's already racing.
And so sometimes what happens in these scenarios with a certain type of personality is that egos start getting involved and people want to have the meeting on their own terms. For instance, let's just say, I don't know, someone comes in, they're like, hey, we're going to do 12 o'clock. Is everyone confirmed? I think sometimes people kind of get rubbed the wrong way, like, whoa. You don't tell me when I'm meeting. I'm now going to tell you when I'm meeting.
Really?
This has happened to me a few times.
And it's specifically because someone's like, here's the time we're doing this. And they're like, wait, you didn't even check with me. Is that the idea?
Yeah, where it just starts turning into like a pissing match of like, when are we going to do something? Where are we going to meet? People sometimes get bruised egos. And this may or may not have been happened to me this week or someone else that I know where
Okay.
Where it was like this time, like a very time sensitive meeting that had to happen. And then someone got a little offended because of something else, but it turned into this big thing with all this scheduling, and then people started to push the meeting, and it turns into this freaking like,
fuck it, we're not even gonna have the meeting.
It's an ego thing. That's all I'm saying. And it happens, and from a writer's point of view, it was really frustrating because a lot of times with what happens is meetings get set and people just assume you're good when the writer is the most important person, because the reason we're having the meeting is to discuss a script. And now I'm just kind of rambling here, but my point being is it'll happen.
Yeah.
It'll frustrate people. It may or may not be frustrating me right now. I don't know. But the ego shit is a real thing. It happens.
It's so strange. It does happen, which actually feeds really well into our main topic, which we're not going to get into right now for a second. No. But that does feed super well into our main topic of emotional intelligence and how it applies to screenwriting. Yeah, that's super interesting. I will have to say, like, being sick this last week has been amazing in terms of scheduling because I can just say no. Yeah. And that feels really good to be like, that doesn't work for me because I can't talk to you anyways because my voice is gone. That's not as an ego thing, but as like when people start sort of enforcing their schedules, you're just like, no.
Nah, sorry.
And that's the beauty of, by the way, when we become A-listers, You can just do that. You can be like, no, it doesn't work for me. And because I remember as a scheduler when I was an assistant, you pick like the person at the top of that hierarchy of that ladder is the person everyone's schedules have to work around. And there was always this feeling of like, I can't wait to be that person.
That might, that's absolutely right. 100% right.
So everyone sounds like they were jostling to be that person in that particular scheduling situation.
In that made-up scenario, that's what it sounded like.
Yeah, completely made up. Hypothetical.
And sometimes I don't like how writers get treated.
So wait, can I just ask?
Sure.
So they didn't really consider your schedule,
and then
the writer's
schedule.
I
was not appreciative of that. Everyone just assumed I was good. Like,
they're like, he's not doing anything.
We know he's not doing shit.
Writers, what are they doing? Nothing. Sitting at home.
This guy? Oh yeah, Josh is fine. Like literally any time during the day.
There's something that's like pulling a trigger for me because there's something some producers have where they think that you aren't doing nothing except working on their project. And so obviously you will make yourself available. And sometimes you have to. Like sometimes a project is in a priority position and you literally have to make yourself available whenever they want you to. But for the most part, like you have another life writing other things for other people and they just don't get that somehow.
Okay, let's move on from that made-up scenario.
Anyways, I don't know why we spent so long on that, actually.
Well, I'm sorry. It was me. I was a little fired up.
No, because it's a thing. It's a thing. And I can tell, like, it's riling me up, too. All right. My This Week in Writing is similarly angry. So I pitched on something this week, and I just want to talk about how it went down. Because I prepped so hard for this. I was not nervous, just like ready, excited to share this pitch. And then I get an email when the pitch is starting saying, hey, can we push it 5 minutes? So sorry. Absolutely, no problem. Push it 5 minutes. And as the Zoom pops up 5 minutes later, the main executive is typing on a second computer over to her right and not looking at the screen at all. And she's like, hey, sorry. And I've never met this person before. Hey, sorry. 1 second. She's finishing something over here. And then she's over to her left and she's doing something over here. And then she's just kind of like so frazzled that she was basically like, let's just get this going. Let's just do this.
Strong start.
And I was like, oh man, whew. Okay, because it makes you be like, oh, I'm wasting this person's time. My pitch, it was 30 minutes, and I was trying to get it down to like 25, and I just couldn't figure out how to do it. So I'm like, oh shit, I'm going to take up 30 minutes of this woman's time just speaking. I am absolutely going to bore her. She's not in the right mindset to just sit for 30 minutes and listen to something. So I caught myself like really rushing through it. And right off the bat, first sentence I had, she like cut me off and like made a joke about what I said. And I was like, oh God. All right. Breathe. I got to breathe. And like, I just moved my pitch script because again, it was on Zoom. I moved my pitch script over her face in the Zoom so I couldn't see her because she was just making me so anxious. And then I kept going. Middle of the way through, because I had the script over the screen, I didn't see that she had dropped out because her internet went bad. And then the other executive's like, oh, I'm like, please stop for a second. Like, I think we lost so-and-so. And the assistant was like, yeah, I'm sorry. My boss has terrible internet connection at her house.
What?
And so we were like, oh, well, she can just call into the Zoom then. And he's like, yeah, she doesn't have good cell service either. So we're like,
Would
okay,
she live in a
I guess we'll just
fucking
wait.
Submarine?
So-
What, I don't understand.
I know. You're in
It's
Los
2023.
Angeles. Come
Figure
on.
it out.
So we wait, and she finally comes on, and she like her internet's skipping. And to her credit, she was very apologetic. Like, I'm so sorry, that's so unprofessional. Please continue, just like go back a couple minutes. But it does like ruin your flow, right? And anyways, I get through it and it was fine. The pitch was fine. There was no like, you always want to like sell it in the room for them to be like, oh my God, that was genius. You're incredible. I didn't get that reaction. So we'll see how it goes. There's a few more rounds. I made it to the next round, but
you did?
Wanted to put that out. Yeah. She gave me like a note, so I'm gonna address it.
Okay, I know this went great. I know it did.
It's fine.
Yeah, I know it went better than
fine.
that. You always downplay your pitches, and and I know it went well. I've talked to you before where you're like, not good, and then you're like, I just sold this thing. I'm like, what? I thought it wasn't good.
Not good. I'm going to go drink myself to death. Oh, I got the job.
By the way, I got the job. Like, oh, cool. I'm glad we were angry for 2 days.
That's fair. But I have to say, it did make me feel like, you know, like you're going to have to work with this person for like a year. And if I don't know. Just it's rough.
I'm not saying this is that person, but I have a friend who fortunately is in a position where they can kind of choose who to work with. And always he refers to people as like life's too short people. And so there's certain people that, I mean, he can't choose everything. But what I'm saying is he can be a little more picky about who he works with. And people will come into his life and he's like, life's too short. Not dealing with this person. Moving on.
Yeah.
Somehow that topic what you just talked about, we should somehow incorporate into our next Pitching is Terrible episode. I don't even know how. We just talk about pitching and all the bad things.
Yeah. Like how to handle interruptions or like go with the flow. And
Okay. This one's a little bit more less angry.
Okay.
I was talking to a buddy of mine and he essentially got recognition for being like a sci-fi writer. And
amazing.
Yeah, it was great. He wrote something. He wrote one script and he got meetings off of it and he signed and the script might have even sold for all I know. But I was talking to him and he was saying that he doesn't want to be a sci-fi writer.
Oh.
And and so it was kind of one of those things where I think he had just this one cool idea and it hit.
Yeah.
And now he's trying to work his way out of being pigeonholed as a sci-fi guy.
Yeah.
And he basically was like, what do I do? Like, not asking everyone, we were just kind of talking about this. And I was like, I think you just need to write yourself out of it.
Yeah.
Like, just be awesome at writing something else.
I think that's it. Honestly, that's the beauty of our position. One of the best things about our job as a writer is I wrote a rom-com early on, if you remember. And if I had sold that, I would have been in serious trouble because I would have been a rom-com person. But the only thing I would have done to be able to get out of that is write like a killer, fantasy action movie or something and try and take that to market. And then people will be like, oh, it's the same writer of that cool rom-com. Okay, this person's talented. Like I look at Jordan Peele as sort of the epitome or the paradigm of this idea where all I knew him as was a comedy guy. Mm-hmm. And as an actor, like I didn't really know him as a writer or director at all. And here he is, the best horror writer and director working right now, right? So it is absolutely possible. And it's I think a superpower we have.
It is great. But that's it. I think, unfortunately, the other issue to that was he was like talking to his reps and he was like, hey, I want to like write something else. And even his reps were suggesting him to write sci-fi.
Oh, that's tough. It's because that's how they know how to sell him. I get that that's tough. And the only way that they can sell him as something different is if his script is killer. So if he writes a rom-com because he really wants to write rom-coms and that's his true passion, and his rom-com is mediocre, they're going to be like, you got to try again. Like this has to be killer. Otherwise we can't stop this current and divert the river in a different direction. It's not easy, but it's absolutely within our power, and so few things in our business are. Mm-hmm. And I think it's really smart to talk about this because there's no reason to feel stuck, I think. And even though you're probably getting a lot of meetings at like genre places that do sci-fi and they're like trying to offer you all these open writing assignments or pitches and stuff that are sci-fi and you're like, oh God, please let me get out of this. You just have to write on spec something else, unfortunately. Without doing that, like there's no way for you to get into the rom-com market if your only sample is sci-fi, even if you love rom-coms, unfortunately.
I agree.
Although, to pitch against myself, if you are in a general with a place that also does rom-coms, but you're meeting off of your sci-fi script, just bring up, I also love writing rom-coms. And they'll be like, oh, do you have any rom-com scripts?
Yeah.
And so you should have one. Or like at least have ideas or like pitches ready to go when you do say that. But I feel like you should feel free to do that in a general meeting as well if you want to kind of try to divert people and let them know, sci-fi. I love writing sci-fi, but one of my other passions is rom-coms.
Agreed.
That's tough. He'll find it though. He'll get it.
Yeah, maybe.
Go write that rom-com.
I love how we just assumed he writes rom-coms. I don't even know. I don't even know what else he wants to write. But yeah, that's probably true. Anyway.
All right.
Do you have another one?
I do not.
Okay.
We're going to get into our main topic then.
I'm excited.
I'm excited too, because I don't know where this is going to take us. This is sort of a different approach to a topic. I think Josh actually found an article on Fast Company titled "Why Emotional Intelligence is Key to Running Multiple Ventures," which you don't think would apply to writing, but he sent this to me as like, oh, this is interesting. And I was like, this applies to writing. We're going to talk about this. So we're going to try and apply this article from Fast Company about running different companies to screenwriting, because it really, I think, applies.
Yeah, the idea of like this using emotional intelligence in the screenwriting world. You know what? Not to jump ahead, but something just happened to me. The long story short is I was pitching an idea to somebody, and I could tell their like expression was not into the idea. And so I kind of just wrapped it up because I was like, all right, just move on from this. And I'm not saying I have like emotional intelligence. I'm just saying it was like a cue where I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I have to move on from this. And when I was reading this article, I kind of took away a little bit of that, where it's just kind of like having a sense of other
Read the room.
Read the room. That's it. But yeah, we'll go through this article.
All right, let's start at the first one, which is, right? Just going down.
Yeah. Oh, we're just doing it.
Okay, emotional intelligence. Should we explain what emotional intelligence is, or is the phrase self-explanatory?
I don't know what it is. It's just not intelligence.
I think what emotional intelligence is will become clear as we go through these bullet points in this article. So the first one is emotional intelligence helps you make decisions both quickly and rationally. It says that two core components of emotional intelligence are self-awareness and self-regulation, i.e. the ability to both recognize and manage your emotions. Making decisions in heightened emotional moments rarely leads to a good outcome. Leaders who understand and can negotiate their emotions make better strategic decisions, i.e. not impulsive or knee-jerk decisions. So I thought this was super interesting because this absolutely applies in our business.
Yeah.
For instance, I got notes last week and I was like, fuck whoever wrote these notes. They are so dumb. These are the worst notes I've ever seen in my life. They're all dumb. I'm quitting this project. This is stupid. I'm not doing it. And my producer was like, sleep on it. Like, take a break and breathe. Yeah. And he was right. I breathed, I slept, and I came back and I texted him and I was like, all right, I'm ready to go to work.
I'm ready to go.
Yeah, I'm ready to go. So I don't know if that means my emotional intelligence is low, but it's really, really important to not get those notes and then shoot off an email being like, this is fucking dumb. I am an artiste and you don't understand me. Goodbye. Like, you really have to sit with those emotions, understand where things are coming from, think quickly, because that's another part of this bullet point, which I think is really key, is it's not like take a week to handle your emotions and then come back on the next Monday and then figure out what to do. It's no, you still have to make a snap decision, but don't do it based on your very first reaction, right? I remember, I forget where I was, but there was some kind of psychological, philosophical conversation I was having, and the person was like, your first reaction is never the right one, but what is your second or third reaction? And that's usually the space you should be. And I think that's right. Like, for me, my first reaction to something difficult in our business is like fight or flight. And then the second one is, okay, I've thought through it a bit more rationally. Here is my strategic decision.
I completely agree.
And it's tough too, because also particularly, I was going to say particularly in TV writing or TV writers' rooms where the pace is moving very quickly and constantly because you're in a room with, 6 other people having conversations about story. But this can also happen in features very easily in notes meetings or if you're in production, all myriad places in our industry where you're forced to make very, very quick decisions and like complex decisions about story or logistics of being on set very quickly. Mm-hmm. Again, like, what is your second emotion and what is your second feeling, and then make a decision off off of that. And I think something important about this beat, and I feel like I'm rambling at this point, but I really love it, is that when you calm yourself down, you can make the most strategic, non-emotional decision, I guess is what this beat is telling me, this bullet point. And I just love that, and I use it a lot, especially in TV writers' rooms.
We'll move on, but I do love that, but I'll become so self-conscious that I'm like, okay, my first reaction was anger.
Yeah.
Josh, what's your second reaction? Still anger. and then I'm like, what is it? Find it. Like, there must be a rational component to some of my thoughts here. But
oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait for the third, fifth reaction.
Maybe like the 14th, 15th. All right, moving on.
Okay.
This bullet point number 2. It helps you build and motivate the right team. No one running multiple businesses can do it completely alone. While many entrepreneurs start out as lone wolves committed to a vision, they inevitably face the need to delegate certain elements of day-to-day work. When this need arises, building the right team is the dividing line between survival and failure. Mm-hmm. You know what I just thought of when I read that?
What?
I know there's writers' rooms. I know there's like production teams. I know there's all that. But I just thought of our writers group.
Yeah.
We're a freaking team.
We're the best.
Yeah.
So emotional intelligence to build the right team. We definitely do this in our writers group because we have kind of like a weeding out process where we have someone come in for just a one-off session to see if they jive with us. Mm-hmm. And if they don't, they're not allowed because it can kind of, one bad apple can ruin the whole basket. I don't know how that saying goes.
No, that's it.
But that's true. I think that's absolutely true in all walks of life, including in a writer's room or including in, as you were saying, like your producers in your This Week in Writing, of like finding the right team, and life's too short. And I think all of that becomes very important. I've definitely heard of, I wouldn't say no personally, but heard of stories of leaders, like showrunners, for example, who are hiring people not to build a really solid team underneath them, but a team that they can push around, a team that will just listen to them no matter what they do, a team that will agree with them. I think that's something I've often noticed as a showrunner, is that my writers are so eager to please, and like they want to make sure, because as part of their job is making sure the showrunner has their vision achieved. Yeah. So they want to make sure the showrunner is happy with what they're doing and gets what they ask for. But something that I look for in writers is someone who's willing to disagree with me. And that doesn't mean you stand your ground even if I think we need to go right. You're like, no, we're going left. It's like, okay, but we need to go right. No, we're going left.
Right.
That's not what I'm saying. But someone who's like, Tasha, I don't think that idea is actually right. It could be this. Someone willing to do that. And I think that's what this beat is talking about, right? Is build the emotional intelligence enough to build a team and know how to motivate them as well, I think is another thing, where it's like, I mean, we've all had bosses who have really bad motivational skills. Your motivation is I fucking pay you. That's what your motivation is, right? Instead of, hey, and I'm not talking about like gifts, although that's nice, snacks in the office, that's all great. But like, how about just like satisfaction of doing the job well and like the enjoyment of the job? That's really important to me as a showrunner and like a boss of writers, is, are you enjoying yourself? Because guess what? You're going to want to come to work every day. You're going to want to try really hard. You're going to want to stay late if we have to one day, if you're really enjoying what you're doing. But if you're just putting in your hours,
there should be a sense of pride in what you do.
Yes.
As you're saying that, of course, I feel like, you meet people, you meet leaders of companies or of production houses or whatever it is, where you meet people who work for them and you're like, these are some weird people. Like, and it says a lot about the person who hired them. Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that's an interesting one. It's not only having the ability to build the right team for yourself, not necessarily what feeds your ego, but that's like right for the job and right for what you need as a team, but also like how to motivate that team to work. Because as it says in the under this beat in the article, is the motivation of the boss is contagious. So wherever you fall in terms of how you're motivating people, that's that's how your employees or your producers, if you're in features, are going to feel motivated, is you're bringing that with you. So I think that's a great one.
Me too.
Okay. It helps you set expectations for yourself and others. So beyond managing your own emotions, a mark of high emotional intelligence is understanding and managing other people's emotions, not telling them what to feel, but actually feeling what they're feeling, empathizing, and then moderating your actions accordingly. So I actually really love this one. I think this is the one I read where I was like, this is just like writing, because this definitely happens with producers, definitely happens with writers in your writer's room. A while ago, I had an instance where a writer was really stressed out, but you could just tell there was something going on with him that he needed some time off. So go take a day off. Go spend some time writing. Like, just take a day and come back on Monday. It's fine. And I think like it's being able to notice what other people in the room need. So for producers as well, if they're really stressed out, you can sense that in the room. Like, how can you maybe chill them out? Maybe make them feel, maybe crack a joke. Maybe just don't be someone who's adding to their stress right now. Maybe that's just not what this call should be about. It should just be about making them feel good, because then they'll want to be on the second call with you when they need to, right? So I think it's a really important bullet point that comes up a lot in our business.
Yeah. I have nothing else to add. You said that perfectly.
Okay. Oh, one more thing to add.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think this is about, not telling them what to feel, actually feeling what they're feeling, moderating your actions accordingly. It brought up for me this book that was recommended to me by a showrunner called Difficult Conversations. It's by a bunch of different authors, so I won't even mention it. If you just Google it, Difficult Conversations. It's really, really helpful in terms of this exact thing, using emotional intelligence when you're talking to producers and other writers and directors and everyone else who we're going to be involved with in our lives as screenwriters. Because when emotions run high or egos run high, as Josh was saying earlier, how do you address things in the best way so that you're not heightening the drama, but bringing it down and making like really good decisions? So that's all. That's what it reminded me of.
No, that's great, because you as a writer, you are going to get yourself in a scenario where you are dealing with a lot of people, and you can heighten it, you can de-escalate certain things, you can add some fuel to the fire, whatever it is. So you're absolutely right.
Are you a fuel the fire person or a de-escalate person?
I'm a de-escalate person. I'm a fuel the fire person when it's like just I want to see the world burn with like my friends, and I'm like, yo, you should totally go talk to that person. And like, I know like she's with her boyfriend or something. But like,
so personally, you're a fire burner.
No. I'm kidding. I do like to see how situations play out, but I'll never fuel a fire into a territory that will put somebody in harm's way.
Yeah.
Or like
I do feel like
up.
Professionally, whenever you see emotions rising high, it feels like you're the kind of person who's like, hey, everyone, let's just chill out. We don't need to go there.
Yeah.
We're fine.
Guys, let's take a step
let's bring
back.
it down.
Let's look at the positives here, and then maybe move into, why you want to set a phone call on your own time when we have to do the phone call today.
Yeah, but when you hang up the phone, you're probably like burn it all to the ground. But
oh, for sure. I'm messaging you. I'm friggin' firing off to Dave. I'm like, God, burn this shit down. All right, the last one, unless I'm missing a bunch.
No.
Okay. Emotional intelligence makes you a better listener. A truly artful listener is rare and powerful. There's very little in our world which encourages good listening. More often, we're prompted to express our own opinions, share our own stories, make it all about ourselves. Good listening benefits the leaders on both micro and macro levels. On the micro level, it enables you to understand better and therefore better manage, where you can better manage workplace dynamics. On a macro level, it enables you to situate yourself with an accurate view of market conditions and make strategic and tactical decisions appropriately.
Interesting.
Stumbled through that.
No, it was great. Truly artful listener is a rare and powerful thing. Damn, that's like just true in life.
This actually made me just think of Paul Bay, because in our episode with him, he made a comment where he was saying that he listens and he asks people what they want. I forget specifically what he said, but I know he said that, you know, he made a comment like, people are really good at talking, and like when you're pitching, people are really good at pitching, but people aren't great at listening.
Yeah.
And I think he was saying that he benefited a lot from being able to listen, to understand, and then kind of like take it from there.
I agree. Yeah. And yeah, I think what I remember him saying was that when you come to LA, so many people are talkers. They just want to talk about themselves. And he found that in listening, he actually can get kind of closer to someone. And I have found that too in general meetings. Like, I've talked about this a million times on this podcast, but when I go to generals, it's usually, tell us about yourself, Tasha. And sometimes they devolve into just, here's my story. But my favorite meetings are usually when I'm like, here's about me. What about you? Like, where did you come from? How did you get in the business? Because particularly in our industry, everyone comes from so many different walks of life. Everyone has a unique story of why they wanted to go to Hollywood and make it big, right? So like, that's always really interesting to me anyway. So as you start to, when it says be a good listener, I think it means kind of the opposite of what it's saying here, which is people who want to just share their own stories. It's being the opposite of that. So it's listening to someone's story, engaging with them, instead of like trying to compete with my story is better, or just competing for air in the room. Sit back, listen, ask questions about their story before you rush into trying to tell your own. And that can often just lead to making people comfortable. And I've definitely found people who have a high emotional intelligence are really good at just being quiet and inquisitive. And then it makes you feel like they care about you. It makes you feel like they want to be in the same place as you. And it just warms you up as a human being. That's just how it works. So if you can do that to producers, if you can do that to other writers and directors, I think that will take you a long way.
Absolutely.
Can I just interrupt you to keep talking?
Sure.
Because it just reminded me of a video that I saw. Sorry. About like Pedro Pascal is all over my Instagram feed right now, and Paul says it's because I keep clicking on them, which is true. But I find like the interviews with him right now very engaging. Pedro Pascal plays Joel in The Last of Us. He's the Mandalorian. And so he's like really huge right now. And someone was talking about like how they feel about Pedro Pascal. It was another actor with him in The Last of Us. And one of the things that I thought was really interesting that she loved about him, like one of the top things she loved about him, is that when he talked to you, he looked at you. And he just made you feel like you were the only person in the room. He's not looking over here to the right to see who else is here who's maybe more interesting than you. He's not looking over your head to see if like lunch has arrived yet. He's just talking to you. I think that's a big part of this beat in terms of emotional intelligence. Okay, I'm done. I'm sorry, Cope.
No, I listened to what you just said. I'm taking in what you just said, and I'm loving what you just said. I agree. Just listen.
I feel so seen, Josh. Thank you.
Sold. You sold your pitch. I think that's it. Emotional intelligence is very, very important, and you have to do a gut check. I have to do. We not just everyone. We just like if you have emotional intelligence.
Yeah, I think it will make people want to work with you more and make you feel intelligent. And it's an important part of the job to work on. I guess like I feel like the conclusion is don't be an asshole. That's really what the conclusion of this article is.
Yeah, just don't be a dick. Or be a dick if it works.
Hey, I mean, people have gotten very far.
But the people who can read other people and what they want always seem to have a leg up.
I agree. Silent assassins.
Booyah. Well, that's it. We did it.
Okay. Quote of the day. The road to hell is paved with works in progress. Philip Roth. Please remember to rate and subscribe. Follow us at ActTwoWriters for more awesome writing stuff. You can follow me, Tasha, at Story Thursday on Instagram or on Twitter at Tasha 3.0.
And I'm Joshua Hallman on Twitter. Josh Hallman on Instagram.
And as always, the Act Two podcast is a production of Act Two, a network and support group for the everyday working screenwriter. This episode was edited by Paul Lundquist. Music by 414 Beg, which you can find on Spotify.